Hey True Seekers, it's Nathaniel here recording a video for Mono Monday, for Mono Love, for Mono May. Alright, so this is Calvin here. Cal is a True Seeker that Karen and I have dissed on for quite some time, and we have not been fair to him. He has a ability that changes his victory condition to win by defeating 5 Sinnies. So overall, you just need to defeat 5 Sinnies instead of 6. Problem is, no one in their right mind playing against Calvin would play any more than 4 Sinnies. So Calvin has a win condition that his opponent controls, and it doesn't matter. However, they created a new card that changes this fact. So I have 8 love power here because I want to make sure I see my power cards. I'm only going to be able to pay 5 of these, so I'm discarding the rest. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to our equipment. I have 1 Scarlet Cord. Scarlet Cord says the animal to whom this card is attached may either be returned to your hand or discarded from your small group at any time during your setup phase. If you choose to discard it, you may search your deck for any animal with equal or lesser virtue points and place it in your hand. This card must be discarded once this action is used. So, I actually use this to equip it to Agape level 2, place it back in my hand so I can have an Agape level 1. Because I have a couple Hope and I have a couple Faith Animo in this deck that I can use to discard from my small group to search for my Love Animo. It also allows me to replay my Animo, which is really good. I have 2 Paul's Chains. Paul's Chains is an amazing search card. It says the animal to whom this card is attached may not be activated, but may be discarded any time during your setup phase. Once per turn, as long as this card is attached to an animal in your small group, you may search your deck for up to 2 level 1 Animo and place them in your small group. If there is no room in your small group, this card has no use. And I run 3 Belt of Truth. Belt of Truth is a pretty interesting card. It says when this card is attached to a love animal, instantly draw 2 cards. Then, secondly, it says once per turn, as long as this card is attached to any Animo, you may peek at the top 4 cards of your deck and return them to the top of your deck in any order. So ideally, if you have 2 of these cards in hand, you'll attach 1, draw 2, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put them back in any order, and then you will attach the second one to another love Animo, and you'll just draw the 2 cards that you placed on top of your deck. It's really good, comes in handy. It is also one of the main sources of draw power for this deck other than Hightail. For Sinnies, we have Hookworm. Hookworm has an ability that says as long as this Sinnie is active, all of your opponent's Animo require an extra universal cost in order to be activated. Grump Roast says as long as this Sinnie remains active, your opponent may not have any more than 3 Animo in their small group at a time. If there are more than 3 Animo in your opponent's small group, then they have to, when it's revealed, they have to discard down to 3. This is an anti-Alex tactic. Next up, we have Zapper King. Zapper King has an action that says your opponent may not play any level 1 Animo from their hand to their small group during their next turn. Partner that up with Venomouth. Says as long as the card is active, your opponent may not Animo may not be activated in the same turn they're added to the small group or grown in their small group. This Sinnie is Scorpoon. Scorpoon's a 12 defense Sinnie and has the action. If you are not already facing a Sinnie, your opponent must reveal a Sinnie from their discard pile if they have one and play it against you. So if you are in need of getting to your win condition, you can use Scorpoon to play that Mega Plus Sinnie on you. You then defeat it in battle or by Bioverse challenge, and then you get your Sinnie counter moved up to where it needs to be for you to win. Scorpoon's an essential for every Calvin deck. Tollcrow Mega. He's a 16 defense Sinnie. Lorikai Mega. Select up to 1 Animo in your opponent's small group, flip it over, and as long as this Sinnie is active, that Animo may not be interacted with in any way. Then Fearcrow Mega Plus is an 18 defense Sinnie, where if you defeat it, it is worth 1 more Sinnie than just a normal defeating a Sinnie. Now it has an action that says your opponent may not play any cards from their hand on their next turn. It is a really diabolical Sinnie. All right, I mentioned I have a couple faith and a couple hope. Here are the exceptions. Hoof It. Hoof It has the ability that if this card's in your hand, you may choose to discard it. If you do, you may shuffle any 3 cards from your discard pile back into your deck. The reason why this card's in the deck is because sometimes you're running out of steam and you need Animo back in your deck. So you use Hoof It to put those Animo back. It also has a neat combo that I explained in my Mono Faith deck video, where you can put Paul's Chains on an Animo, and then you can go ahead and use that to go grab Flow Ultra. And after you discard a Flow Ultra, you can use Flow Ultra to grab Hoof It and 2 other Animo that you need. Then you will use Hoof It to put back Hoof It, Flow Ultra, and another Animo that you want back into your deck. It's really handy. Then I run 3 Hightail. This is one of the main draw engines of the deck. It says Retreat 1, which is a unique ability that says if this card is in your hand, you may choose to reveal it to your opponent and shuffle it back into your deck. If you do, draw 3 cards. So I also play this with Agape Sword, so that way I can discard it or Hoof It, so that way I can go search my deck for a Love Animo and add it to my hand. Next up, I have 3 Quilla level 1 who will grow into one of my 3 copies of Love Quilla level 2. This is my main way of getting Love power. So it has the action to search your deck for either 1 special power card or 2 standard power card and add them to your power pool. Shuffle your deck afterwards. So this is how I get my Love power for my Calvin deck. It comes in handy. Next up, I got 2 Fondly, because I want my opponent to be playing Cinnies on me. This one says if you are facing a Cinny, when this card is played from your hand into your small group, draw 3 cards. Really good. It also grows into Fondly level 2, who is a 3 for 12. Very powerful. Next up, I have not 1, but 3 Potpourris. This is a universal deck, meaning that there's a card that exists called Evil that stops you from activating Love Animo. There's also a Fear Crow, a Refrigerator, and a Fear Crow Mega that have actions that just stop you from interacting with your love stuff. Potpourri says, I'm going to ignore that. So I will attach Paul's Chains to this card and let it sit out there as a blanket effect. It is very handy. Plus I can activate it because this is a love deck. Next up, Love is all about fellowship. So we got the Fairly Fellowship bonus, which works with as long as it's activated in the same turn as another Animo, regardless of its kind. So this is probably the only Love Animo that has a fellowship with other Love Animo. It is one of the win conditions of this deck. Next up, we got Saltini. Saltini level 1. So 2 for 5. This is the shorter Bible verse because Saltini is a weakness for some Cinnies. But of course, I want to be defeating Cinnies, so I'm not going to run the other Saltini that returns it back to the opponent's hand. Instead, I'm going to run this guy because he's a 2 for 10. I don't use his Fellowship bonus. I don't run any Holy Spirit in this deck. Next up, I have 3 Agape Sword level 1. I chose this one for 2 reasons. Number 1, it has a shorter Bible verse than the other Agape Sword level 1s. Its ability also says once per turn you can discard a Faith or Hope Animo in your small group and search your deck for 1 Love Animo and place it in your hand. Shuffle afterwards. So this is how I get access to some of my level 2 Love Animo. Plus it also can help me go grab my Flow Ultra if I need it. And this one's going to grow into Agape Sword level 2 from Cross Trainers. Because the other Agape Sword prevents my opponent from playing a Cinny on me, and I want my opponent to play Cinnies on me, I'm going to use this Agape Sword. Plus, this Agape Sword has the ability that as long as this card is in your small group, any Cinny that is revealed to you has its weakness of Agape Sword in addition to its stated weakness. So, I'm going to add a weakness of Agape Sword, and if I have this Agape Sword out, and I have this Agape Sword out, I can use the Bible verse challenge to defeat Cinnies twice. Because I can use it on this copy of Agape Sword and this copy of Agape Sword. It's really helpful because I want to be able to defeat Cinnies, and being able to defeat 2 without battling them is really helpful. Moving on, I have Flow Ultra. Flow Ultra has the ability, says, you may discard this card from your small group. If you do, search your deck for any 3 Animo, reveal them, and place them in your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. I use this card because I need to be able to find my Animo. It's very important that I have access to any Animo that I want to in my deck. I can also recycle this with Hoof It and get it back with Paul's Chains, as I do not have any other form of recycle in this deck. And then, finally, this is the card that everyone's been waiting for. This is Opopany Ultra. Opopany Ultra is a 2 for 10, which has the ability, as long as this card remains in your small group, your win condition for defeating Cinnies is reduced by 1. This is the goal. The goal in this deck is to use Calvin to reduce it by 5, reduce it by 4, and reduce it to 3. So I just need to defeat 3 Cinnies in this copy or version of the deck. I could remove my Flow Ultra in order to be able to run another one of these. If I do, that's going to give me the option of having to only defeat 2 Cinnies. So I defeat 1 Mega Plus, I win the game. Normally, when your opponent sees you running Calvin, they're going to be very hesitant on playing Cinnies against you because they don't know how many of these you run. The moment you show them Flow Ultra, they're like, oh, he's running maybe 2 of these. And if you activate one, they're like, oh, he only has 1 left. And if you activate the other one, oh, look, he has none left. So now they're going to be more willing to play Cinnies on you. And that's when you use Hoof It to put these back into your deck. Use Paul's Chains, get both of them out there. And if you defeated 3 Cinnies, you win the game. Or you can use Scorpoon to force them to play a Cinny on you. Because normally if they're not playing those Cinnies on you, they're going to be discarding them. So that way they can draw more cards. And maybe they're discarding them. They might be using Hoof It to put them back in their deck, but then that means that they're not putting the cards that they really want back in their deck. They're just trying to prevent you from winning through Calvin. But they're not playing Cinnies on you. They have to deal with the fact that you are going to be getting 28 to 30 points every single turn, which is a really big deal. And then when they play a Cinny on you, you have Pope Raise to ignore the action, and you have Agape Sword to defeat it by a Bible verse. Or you can beat the old-fashioned way by sending like 28 points out after it. And you get to ignore the actions of Cinnies that's going to attack your love, which is really good. It's going to stop them from using Mega Fear Crow Plus on you. And if they do, they realize that it's going to backfire because you have Opopany Ultra. So that's this entire deck for the Mono Monday, for Mono Love, for Mono May. So in the meantime, Truth Seekers, keep learning virtues and defeating Cinnies.